Hey guys, today we're going to be recapping the Mavericks-Celtics game. This is my first recap on the channel, so I'm pretty excited. Um, but anyway, so I watched this game with my buddies today. They just left actually. It's currently 11:15 Central, so I should be going to bed soon. So I wanted to talk about basically what I saw from this game. Um, so overall, obviously Celtics won. Won by 18. Um, the main thing I really want to look at is what happened with the Mavericks to cause them to lose. And it mainly comes down to just like execution overall and just playing together as a team. So if we look at, well, first let me backtrack. So earlier today, I was actually watching Mind the Game, which is a podcast with LeBron James and JJ Redick, and they were talking about how the end of quarters is the most important time of the game. And so, obviously, as this game went on, uh, if you look at and watch back at the end of the first and third quarters, you can really see where the Mavericks fell apart. I don't have the exact stats up here, but the obviously in the third quarter, uh, the Mavs got the game super close. Okay, so the Mavs got it down to 8 actually, and coming out of halftime, they were down 21. Yeah. Okay. So they were down 8 at one point. And they that's like midway through the third quarter. Right at 4:28, Luka hits a three, 64-72. Okay, out of that, the Celtics they called a timeout after, um, and then they just started to go on this run here at the end of the quarter, uh, and yeah, they just went back up 20, which if you're the Mavericks, that just can't happen. They wanted a 14-2 run here to end the quarter in like the last 3 minutes. If you're the Mavericks, that's you can't win basketball games like that. And then even if we go back in the first quarter, the game at one point was it was 15-17 with 6 minutes left. You go to even 4:54 left, 18-24. And then right here at 2:52, Porzingis dunks the ball in, which we'll get to. Porzingis' amazing game. And then after that, Porzingis and Tatum they just kind of take off here, and let's see the Celtics end on a uh, 13-2 run um, to end the first quarter. And if you're the Celtics, that's huge because number one, you're at home, so the crowd's getting into it, which is obviously very big in the NBA Finals when the stadium is packed. But number two, you have the fact that the Mavericks just weren't able to rebound after that, and just seemed like in the well, I shouldn't say they weren't able to rebound because they did in the third quarter. But it just seemed like everything was just kind of falling apart. And I feel like throughout the rest of the series, we're gonna see like this sort of a chess match between these two teams, especially with Jason Kidd and Joe Mazzulla. Um, but looking at the stats here, looking at the box score, which obviously isn't the best thing to do because you want to watch the actual game. The Mavericks shot, let's see, 15 less three pointers, and they shot the ball at a 26% clip, while the Celtics were at a 38% clip. So we know the Celtics, their starting five, uh, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Al Horford, Derek White, Jrue Holiday, all of them can shoot. That's what makes them so deadly is that everyone on the team can shoot, and then they have Porzingis coming off the bench tonight, which he absolutely fueled the Celtics to win this game. I think that he was a very big, he was like the X factor of this game, really. But then you look at the Mavericks. Derrick Jones Jr. He's a good shooter, but he's really only super effective in the corners off the catch and shoot. Same with PJ Washington. Gafford can't shoot. Kyrie and Luka, obviously they get buckets, so they can shoot. But Kyrie here went 0 for 5 tonight. Luka 4 for 12. You can't have your best two players going 5 for 17, expect to win a finals game. That doesn't happen. And then even if you look at the bench here, you got their other big guy, Derek Lively. He can't shoot really. The only big man that could shoot really is Maxi Kleber, and he doesn't really bring much to the table other than floor spacing. Um, but like really looking at the Celtics strategy and what Joe Mazzulla did, I really enjoyed watching how he defended Luka and Kyrie. He switched up a lot on the pick and roll. So towards the beginning of the game, I believe he switched a lot, and this led to Al Horford being on Luka a lot. And honestly, more often than not, Al Horford was able to like get a good contest off on Luka, and Luka wasn't able to hit those shots tonight. Now you can't bank on this because Luka is Luka. He's hit plenty of difficult shots in his career, as we saw when he hit that game winner against Rudy Gobert in the Western Conference Finals. But I mean, it wasn't it was a good way to guard him, especially for how he played this game. But then he ended up switching it up a little bit, and he would mix and match. He would have sometimes some people would go and double and trap him. And we saw this towards the end of the game, and I think it was in the fourth quarter. Derek White came. Luka didn't see him. Derek White came up from behind, kind of picked his pocket, and just wide open dunk. So that's just like I know it's only 2 points, but 2 points is very meaningful, especially if you look at if Luka would hit a step back three. That's a 5 point swing right there. So yeah, Missoula had a really good strategy for guarding Luka and Kyrie in the pick and roll. I also just don't think that Kyrie or Luka really they didn't really play up to their level. Like Kyrie going 6 for 19, you can't have that. And it wasn't like he was taking these impossible shots. Like I remember he missed a couple layups. You can't have Luka going 2 for 5 from the free throws, and the team went 12 for 19, which is 63% overall. You can't have that if you want to win a game. Looking at rebounding, Mavs have 43, Celtics have 47, so pretty even there. Assists, that's another factor the Mavs need to work on. Luka, their main playmaker, obviously, he only had 1 assist tonight, I believe. And they only had 9 assists as a team. They're not, they got to get involved more as a team, play team basketball. That's how you win the finals. It just comes down to fundamentals and how you want to, break down the game. The Celtics had 23 assists, for example. And then you look at, obviously Porzingis had a monster game when he was in. Very efficient, 8 for 13. Derek White doing his thing, 5 for 11. Al Horford, 4 for 8. Jaylen Brown, 22, had a monster dunk on Daniel Gafford. That was crazy. But, Tatum, 6 for 16. That's the only spot for the Celtics you're like, that could improve. Same with Pritchard, 0 for 7. That kind of sucks. But, well, I shouldn't say it sucks, but it's just, an off game. I'm sure it'll bounce back and be fine. But, I think another thing that comes into this, though, is that the Celtics have been here before. Like most of these guys, Jaylen Brown, Tatum, Al Horford, Derek White, Jrue Holiday, like their starting five have all been in the finals. And you look at the Mavericks, the only dude really is Kyrie Irving, who's actually been in the finals and won. So that experience comes in very handily. And also just like as I was watching the game, I was telling my friend, I was like, the Celtics just don't, they seem like they're a lot more like player led, and they just seem like they're having like a lot more urgency overall. The Mavericks just didn't seem like they had a lot of urgency, and it just didn't seem like Just seemed like they were trying to get a feel for what the finals were like, basically. Um, and it was definitely a tough game. Um, I think they really could have came back if those last especially the third quarter, those last 3 minutes, they would have just stayed consistent with how they played, and not let it get out of hand. That's really what killed them. Like if those first and third quarter they didn't get blown out, then we might have 1-0 Dallas in the series, but obviously we don't. Um, yeah, so just looking at post game interviews, Jason Kidd said that the ball got stuck, which that's what happens when you only have 9 assists. I mean, not when you only have 9 assists. The ball is gonna get stuck. Like him saying that is correct because they only had 9 assists. Uh, Porzingis saying the support was unreal from the fans. You could, it's super loud in there. You can tell Boston fans or, diehard fans. It's like Philly. The only thing is like if you underperform, it's not good. But they didn't this game. So, Drew Holiday, quote unquote, we just took the game. Yeah, for sure. I would say they really just looked like they wanted more. Like I said, with the leadership, just with this more sense of urgency. I really wonder what Jason Kidd is thinking in this current moment. Like, what is his plan for, you know, playing basketball the rest of the series? Because you don't want this to be a. And I'm not saying I really hope it's not going to be a sweep, but that'd be horrible. But I think if you're a kid or Jason Kidd, I think you just you look at this game, you see it as a learning opportunity. Your guys were super efficient tonight, or super inefficient, sorry. And the Celtics, they had 37 points in the first quarter, I think. Let me check. Yeah, 37 in the first. So that that's gonna kill you off rip. And they were pretty efficient shooting the ball tonight as well. But I mean, the Celtics played like how the Celtics have played this whole season, like 38% from three. That's amazing, right? But this is the Boston Celtics. Like that's expected. I feel like, especially the looks they were getting, and I remember I believe it was Sam Hauser like shooting like contested corner threes because the crowd is getting into it. Um, so like whenever you have all those combined, it's hard to win a basketball game, especially at this level. Um, I think that you know, Jason Kidd needs to, or the whole Mavs honestly need to watch film on this last game, seeing how the Celtics defended the pick and roll, and they need to just come up with more creative ways to score, and just to read the Celtics defense. And this is where I think it becomes a chess match. Uh, on the other side for Boston, offensively, the Mavericks weren't really doing anything special on defense. I didn't feel. 90% of the time they switched on screens. I mean, if you got Jason Tatum and like Daniel Gafford's on him, or he's got a mismatch with like Kyrie Irving. You saw that a lot with his post game. I mean, it's wraps. Like he's gonna do a sidestep three. He's gonna make it usually. Even if he doesn't make it, it's a great look. But on top of that, you really see the lack of. I wouldn't say the lack of versatility that Dallas has, but like it seems like their guys can really only guard their position. And what I mean by that is like Luka, he can really only guard guards and forwards. He can't guard like okay, I'm really aiming at Porzingis here. Luka can't guard Porzingis. Kyrie can't guard Porzingis. Gafford can potentially guard Porzingis, but the issue is they're switching all of the screens, like I mentioned before. And if you're having Kyrie, or we saw Josh Green a couple of times get switched on to Porzingis, and it was just an easy bucket every time. I mean, their only guys really that the only guy they could throw at him is maybe PJ Washington, but Um, it just it's tough for them, and I think that's like again, go back to the chess match. You got to go to the drawing board, see how you can get maybe the ball gets in Porzingis' hand, try to get it out of his hand. You can do that by double teaming or other sorts of defensive actions. But I feel like they just kind of came into this game with no real game plan, but no real like let's try to work on this. Like let's focus on this. They really just seemed like they were trying um to feel it out. Like I said, like they were just trying to be like, all right, let's take this game. Let's try to win it, and if we don't win it, it's not the end of the world. We're gonna learn some stuff about the Celtics. But it's like I feel like if you watch film, like especially at their level, you shouldn't really need to be having to feel out a game, especially in the finals. Like you shouldn't, I it just didn't seem like they had the sense of urgency to play. Yeah, I mean, if I'm the Mavs here, I'm not, I'm obviously you're worried. You're down 1-0 in the finals to a like super team basically, but I'm not super stressed about the Mavs. Like looking at it, Kyrie, really bad game. Luka definitely below average. Lively only had one shot attempt with 2 points. Derek Jones Jr. 2 for 9. PJ Washington 0 for 3 from three. Kyrie 0 for 5 from three. Like just looking at the box score, like if you're the Mavs, you just have to understand that 90% of the time that's not gonna happen. They're not 90%, but like most of the time you're not gonna get that type of production from your guys, especially shooters like Jones and Washington and Kyrie. Like they're not gonna go a combined was that 1 for 10 every night. That's just not gonna happen. Um, so I mean, yeah, I think you try to stay optimistic if you're the Mavs. That's the only thing you can do. Try not to uh, beat yourself down about the negatives, but just try to learn from them. Really, I think that's how they win this series. I think that's how they win the finals. And uh, yeah, that's my first recap. Um, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you like and subscribe. Um, and yeah, also I'll be posting my blog article in the description if you guys want to check it out. It's more just Houston sports, but I'm looking to start creating outside of just that, and hopefully like all sports in general, mainly basketball, baseball, and football. But yeah, thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one.